The following podcast may contain some strong language and adult themes. If you've got young children around, maybe save it until they've gone to bed. If you really don't like bad words, this pod probably isn't for you.
Welcome to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, J-Tech Suspension, Revolution Bike Park, Ride Southern Spain, Schwal, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Single Track. Previously on the Making Up the Numbers podcast.
We did testing with the stem and we were literally just riding one steep track. So at the time that stem was pretty good. Like I didn't really notice a whole heap of difference. But yeah, like that stem caused me a lot of grief. Caused me a lot of grief that year. And like I was crashing so much, and I was always just like trying to figure out what was going on.
We went to Fort William like a week or two later and hoping I could race. My race bike got stolen in the van when we got there. And so we rebuilt up a practice bike. I went out and practiced, did 2 runs, flat landed the finish line jump, broke the same crank arm. And just, that was maybe the most mad I've ever been because my ankle was destroyed. And I did the exact same thing, folded it back under the bike. So then I got into Fort William finals. I couldn't walk, but I could stand on the bike. So I'm like, let's give this a go and see how it goes. And then I had probably the biggest crash of my whole life where the thing exploded and I was flying through the air. Yeah. And so that happened. Went to Leogang the next weekend, still on an ankle that I couldn't walk on, got on the podium. And then I think we went to Andorra or something was the next race. And I got caught in the dust in practice, crossroad, hit a tree, and I blew out both my shoulders. So it was just this like comical like string of events where I was like, what's it going to be this weekend? Like it was just one thing after the other.
Yeah, I remember I did the first e cross country in Montana the year before, so I had a bit of a clue on what was going on, and I spent the race battling with Loic's dad. So I was like, okay, there's a bit of a difference in some of the motors. And actually, Loic's dad had a huge crash because I was like cheering him on so much from behind, and he went straight over a berm.
Oh, geez.
But Loic was like, yeah, you shouldn't be riding around behind my dad.
Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 4 of the pod, which also happens to be episode number 50. And in this episode, we're going to be wrapping up the Val d'Isole World Cup and reflecting on the season so far. Then we'll be joined by Gracey Hemstreet, the Canadian sensation who's having a fantastic first season in Elite, before rounding out the show with a few predictions for Hardline and World Champs. But first, Pink Bike kindly shared a couple of episodes of the pod in their July roundup, so big thanks to Brian and Christy for that. But in the comments, I know, never read the Pink Bike comments, but I did, and Mr. Chris J was asking who's the guy with the rich northern accent? Who's the guy who's been racing in Portugal? Didn't have any questions about you, Emmy, but just me and Jack, it seems. But it made me think that the pod's become pretty well established now to the point that I don't introduce myself anymore. I don't introduce you guys. We just get on with it. But we've added a lot of listeners over the last year and maybe got a bit too comfortable. So maybe we should intro ourselves for the new listeners. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I don't mind.
Yeah.
So my name is Emmy. Is not actually my real name. Emily Siegenthaler is my real name.
Yeah.
I'm from Switzerland. I'm getting 37 this year, which is frightening. And I've been racing downhill World Cups for 15 years, and I retired 2 years ago. So yeah, that's it.
How many World Cup podiums was it?
George, 14, 16, 15, I can't remember. You told me and I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe it was more than that. I remember it was in the, there's an episode with Emmy from probably about 2 years ago. at the end of the season, and in there we detailed it, didn't we? I remember that.
I'm saying 16 because I was like, really?
You did good. You did good.
I did okay. Yeah, I did okay.
And that was a lovely introduction. Jack?
Okay, I haven't prepared anything, so I'm just going to speak.
It's like a job interview.
Yeah. My name is Jack Redding. I've been racing World Cup downhill since 2010. I kind of fell into it. I'm an optometrist by trade, and while I was at university, I got quite good at mountain biking, so I had a bit of a crack at the World Cup stuff. I am retiring from World Cup downhill at the end of this year, so I'm enjoying my kind of road to retirement in this final World Cup season. I own my own World Cup team. My brand is called One Vision. We've been operating since 2015. And when I do retire, the team will continue and I will move into more of a performance coach and team manager role. Because my other business is a coaching business for mountain biking called Gravity School, which is one of the main sponsors of the race team. And the way we work it is we bring in riders who do well on our Gravity School, and they then represent the pro race team at World Cups and at Nationals. So yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell, really.
Best World Cup result?
Best World Cup result is 18th at Lenzerheide. I've had a few top 10 qualies, but obviously the finals results are what really matters. I've won Nationals in UK, Portugal, Germany, Canada. So yeah, it's not been too bad, George.
What was your best result World Cup, Emmy? Third. I
qualified second a couple of times. Val di Sole in the rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, third was best. Like 3-time third, I think, or 4-time third.
Yeah. Excellent. And I'm George Thompson. I started racing. No, hang on a second. Let me rephrase that. I started riding mountain bikes pre-suspension. I then took a 17-year break from exercise and came back to bikes in 2007. I'm now in my 10th season of racing downhill in the veterans category here in the UK. And I've never been on a podium, which probably won't surprise you if you...
one day.
Hey, one day, yeah. And I would have been on moving up into Grand Vets next year, and I would have been on the podium at the two of the three nationals I've raced so far this season. So
success is coming.
It's on the horizon.
Who said success doesn't come with age?
When there's only 5 riders in the category, I'm on the podium. On with the show then. So, Jack, round 3 of the World Cup, Val di Sole. Tell us a bit about how it went for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been one of my favourite tracks. For a long time, it was my favourite track. And now it's a close tie with MUTN. So I got into it pretty easy at the start. Me and Dan were riding together, did 3 runs with him. And then by the end of the 3rd run, I was like, right, I've had enough of that. He was absolutely hauling. So I kind of wanted to do my 4th run on my own, do some sections, and then was going to do a 5th run. Which would have been a full run. And on the 4th run, I just tweaked my shoulder. It was just a nothing crash on my left side, and my handlebars must have snapped, and it just pulled my bad shoulder forwards. And it just went proper tweaky. And I just saw one of the physios who actually works for Gracey on Norco team. And she had a look, and basically I had a bit of an impingement in the ball socket joint. And she ended up treating me throughout the weekend so that I could ride and taping it up because it was playing up a bit. So I actually stopped riding after the 4th run, partly because of what happened to Dan, which we're going to touch on in a minute.
Yeah.
And Thursday night after practice, I genuinely didn't even know if I was going to bother riding on Friday. It rained. We then kind of got into things on the Friday. I did 3 practice runs, which went through shit, average, and then okay. And then my junior came down in his quali, and he came 9th, again, something we're going to talk about. Did a really good time, and I looked at my mechanic and I was like, well, he's not fucking beating me today. I'm not ready to have it just yet. And his quali run was 10 seconds faster than the practice time I'd just done. So I knew I needed to level up, but I knew that anyway. And I managed to have a good run in quali, came 52nd, beat Owen by 1.8. He'll kill me if I've added too much on there. So I was dead happy and just went and enjoyed finals or old finals, the semi-final, whatever you want to call it. Didn't really have any aspirations of getting in the top 30. I looked at the time I would have needed to make up and thought, well, that's a bit much for this weekend. So I'm just going to kind of ride my bike and see where I end up. And I was 47th. I was happy with my run. Conditions were all over the place. So tyre choice was tricky. And yeah, solid weekend for me on a personal level.
Cool. And great result for your junior, Owen Rick, who you've just mentioned. He finished 9th. He must have been pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got his quali wrong, actually. He was 11th in the quali, which it was nice to see him back that up after qualifying 8th in Leogang. And we were far less excited this time. It was more just, right, yeah, good.
He was the top ranked Brit, wasn't he? If you come out of Val di Sole as the top ranked Brit.
Well, he is now, even despite not qualifying in Lenzerheide, which was the first one when he was still kind of trying to figure stuff out. He's now the top ranked Brit, and he's consistent with 2 races now. He's been in there with all the factory team riders. So it's one of them. I said on the podcast, which his dad reminded me about the other day, I said it end of last year that I'd signed the fastest second year junior. And I think a lot of people probably heard me say it and thought, no. Well, I told you.
Yeah, you can pick him. I'll give you that. You
At
can
this
pick
stage
him.
in July, Owen is now the highest ranked British junior. So, and he's going to go from strength to strength. So yeah, seeing him do that run in the race and come 9th was great. He felt like he had more in the tank. And we're just building nicely. The aim is to see him at least see him on a podium before the end of the season. If not, potentially push for a win. So he's going from strength to strength. And the nice thing is as well is his race time, which he did on the same day as our qualifying, would have put him 59th in elite.
Wow.
So he now knows going into 2024, he has the pace to qualify because he's just done it. So yeah, big shout out to Owen. He's been working hard and it's so nice to see it clicking, and we'll keep grafting.
Yeah. Bad news though for Dan.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it's shit. It's giving me shivers thinking about it. There was a horrible gap line on a new section of track, and you gapped into a hole, and the hole went up straight away on the way out, a proper G out style. And it was his 5th run. He was doing a full run. He'd been riding so well in the morning. Everybody being kind of coming up to me and saying he was absolutely flying and was looking like one of the top riders. And I knew that because I'd been following him and he'd been dropping me. So I knew he was going well. And he just got booked out of this hole and ejected off the bike and just smashed into a tree. Unfortunately, he's broke 2 vertebrae on his. It was told 3, but on his NHS follow up when he got home, he's for sure 2, possibly a 3rd, and broke his wrist. But all of the fractures are stable, so there's no surgery needed, which is obviously a good thing in the bad situation. And yeah, I mean, I've just told him to take the time he needs to recover. I don't really want him to be trying to push back to come back for Andorra or the other 2 World Cups, which are in 6, 7, and 8 weeks' time, because it's too soon with a major injury like that. I've already told him that from my side, I'd like to see him on the team again next year with him and Owen leading the elite kind of push for our team when I step back from the World Cup. So his ride's secure if he wants it, and we just need to see him make a full recovery because it's a serious injury and it needs to be taken seriously. So it's a real shame. He was just starting to click again, and but that's the nature of the sport. We know the risks. We know what we sign up for.
Yeah. Well, get well soon, Dan.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit news to hear, and hope to see you back riding soon. So then you've been on from Val di Sole to the Mega Avalanche, and you had what can only be described as a huge year. It's been all over socials. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, the Mega Avalanche is the biggest event of the year for our main sponsor, SR Suntour. Shout out to them. We were with them all week and they look after us so well, me, the team, and all the rest of the athletes. So it's like, it's almost like a Crankworks for enduro bikes. I was thinking about it last week.
Yeah.
But there's open practice. There's loads of different races. There's the chainless race, the pump track, the qualifying, and then there's the main mega and the e-bike stuff. So it's a great week.
You won the chainless, didn't you?
Yeah. I've been 3rd, 2nd, and now 1st. So I was only planning on doing a 1 run, but then they'd put like a street section in at the bottom, and we obviously hadn't practiced it. And I did my first time, and I was like, I was really bad through the street, and Owen crashed, and he went again because he was desperate to beat me. And I was like, I kind of stood there wondering whether to go again, and then my legs were just like moving towards the chairlift, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Where are you going? And it was just like my inner competitiveness. I was sat in 4th by that point, and he was going again. And I was like, he's going to beat me because that street section, I was so bad. So we kind of went up again, and I went 6 seconds faster, and I had a really nice run, to be fair. And it's the closest event there to a downhill race, so we always quite enjoy that one. So it was nice to do well at that. But yeah, anyway, so won my qualifying heat with a kind of top 10 time, with a good battle against some of the other lads in my heat. Front row for the mega, and then the snow conditions were just like, there's a lot of snow this year, same as 2021, but it was so warm. I was shitting myself, like properly kind of like scared at the top. And the only way I can really deal with that is kind of going into a bit, kind of the zone I'm in before a downhill, but a bit more intense. Like the only way I'm going to attack that glacier is if I've kind of switched everything else off. And all I'm thinking about is just attack. Don't let any of these guys get in front of you. So they delayed the start, and by the time we went at about 9:20, the snow was quite soft. And it's one of them, you've just got to judge it as you get going. And I got going down the first straight, and I was in the first pack, and coming out the first corner, I was about sixth or seventh, but we're all together. And it was clearly obvious straight away, don't go in anyone else's rut. Like it was so soft, you could ride it well, but if you crossed someone else's rut, you were probably going to like get a wobble on or whatever. So I got first corner good, made a pass coming out the second corner and got myself into fifth. And then you go down the longest straight, which is what they use for the speed test. And the other guys were kind of slightly to my left. And I was like, well, I'm holding really good speed. I can see I'm catching them. I'm going to hold right, because if I do that, I'm going to get a really nice line into the next two corners. And a couple of little blind crests, went over the first one, no bother. And then as I went up and over the second one, all of a sudden, there were just rock sinkholes in front of me where the snow had melted away, and the rocky glacier underneath was just exposed. And I could see they were deep, and I could see you did not want to go in. But this all happened, George, within like a split second. Like, and I don't even remember taking my foot out, but you can see from the video, I subconsciously dropped my right foot to try and steer away from this hole. But straight away, it's clear I'm not going to miss it. So I just have to like jump, and you can see I just get the bike in the air enough to miss it. It was just, you're going to crash, choose how. And I just locked and was like, I'm not like, but obviously you're going about 50 mile an hour. So as soon as I jumped, you lose your contact with the snow. And when you go back in, it's just going to munch you. So it just chewed the front wheel in, spat me over the bars. And the photo sequence shows I'm crashing for about 100 meters. Yeah. I felt my back like crunch as I went over, and panicked when I got up, but thankfully I got up and could walk. And then I think initially my thought was like, right, you're all right, get your bike, go. And I picked my bike up and I bent my steerer tube. Like we took the bike apart today, and like bars and stem and frame are fine, but the actual steerer tube of the fork is bent like 20 degrees or whatever.
Wow.
So I picked it up and gone, well, that's that over. And then I realized GoPro had gone, goggle lens had gone. I was like in shock, and I was like, what do I do? And then I was like, well, I've got no phone. Nobody here is going to help me. They're all racing. I've just got to get off this glacier. And I gathered myself, and like by this point, a few people had gone past, but we were that far in front. It was like taking ages for people to get down because they had shit snow conditions. And I ended up having this hilarious exchange with John O'Jones, who's a great friend of mine. We've been friends for years. By the time he got to me, he'd battled through this shit snow.
Yeah, he started at the back, didn't he, or something?
No, he was just behind me. Was it? Row 2.
Or maybe it was Quali he started at the back.
Yeah, that was it. But the thing is, even 2 rows behind us in snow like that, they're going to be 30, 40 riders further back, and the snow they'd had was horrendous. So he'd obviously been working hard to get down this glacier. And by the time he got to me, he couldn't breathe. And I'd obviously had a rest because I'd just like charged down, had a crash, stood up. So I ended up walking off this glacier with my fucked bike faster than Jono could get on. Go on, lad, keep going. And he was like, I can't breathe. Oh, this is so funny. So I just, got myself down and got out of there. And I saw my chiropractor yesterday. Long story short, I got very lucky. And I'm starting to feel a bit more like myself again. But I don't think I'll ever do it again. Because like we weren't told there were holes in the glacier. It was over a blind crest. There was nothing I could have done to avoid it. There were no warning poles or anything. And the reason I'm retiring from World Cups is because I want to minimize the risks in my life and move into another discipline where there's arguably bigger risks because it's an unknown variable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I'll leave well alone, George.
You've done all right at it though.
Yeah, 100%. Like I got unlucky to find the hole, but I got lucky to not be more seriously injured.
So Emmy, busy few weeks for you and the Pivot team. Matt Walker won the EWS, Val di Fassa. Bernard won Crankworks. You were the course sweeper is that the right word, at Swiss National Champs?
I think so. You should tell me the English word for it. I think it is. Really, it's not really opening rider. I'm not really sweeper though, because I had to like do a lot of things. Like I had to like get all the rocks outside the line because it's a national race. There's not a lot of marshals there, and they're not really aware that boulders like that on the line is dangerous.
Yeah.
So I was just like taking rocks off the line and stuff like that, like just before racing started.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually had to do a full run, which I was really happy about because it's quite a long course and physical course. So I was just like, I can just stop here and there.
We don't have anything like that over here, do we, Jack? There's not like an opening rider type.
No.
But is this UCI races that you do or no?
Some of the nationals are.
Yeah, but I think they more usually have. Like, they might send a rider down first to check that nothing's come on track overnight, just a first rider, and then a rider down at the end to check there's nobody still left on the track.
I think a rule over here is that all the marshals have to be in line of sight of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the rule, but it never happens.
It does.
Like, it's the rule for us as well. Like there's not enough marshals, so they don't see really the rocks and stuff. And especially in Switzerland, there's a lot of road crossings, like where people actually drive through the track. So yeah, like the marshals stop the cars, obviously. But if you have a rider coming down and say, okay, now in 5 minutes, this race is going to start. So let all the cars through. And then once you get like word that the first rider is starting, then you just stop the cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit what I had to do, but I could do all the practice, which is fun.
That's
cool. Dry and hot, and yeah, the team had an amazing run at Crankworth. I wasn't there for it because I had to go back to work. That was the last. Something I didn't say in my introduction. I worked as a teacher part-time, so I had to do some of that. It was the last week before big summer vacation. But yeah, Jacob also won the dual slalom. Jacob Juve.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
So that was sick to see because he had a little bit of tough luck the past years, and also this season in Leogang he had like the worst weather ever for his race run, for his qualifying run. Sorry, and our junior Danger, his brother, won the juniors as well. So that was a really, really good week for the team, and also with Matt winning his first CWS. This is a long time coming for him. For sure. So yeah, Cam won Swiss Champs 4th in a row.
Right. So that's what I was going to ask you. I never got to the actual question, did I? There, I started on something else.
Oh yeah.
How many times has Cam won it? So she's won it 4, and you have won it 7. Is that right?
Yeah, 7 downhill. Yeah.
And 1 for 4 cross.
1 for 4 cross. My first ever and last race in that discipline, and I had 2 cross country in juniors as well.
So is she hunting you down?
Well, I told her she's hunting me down, but she's gonna be. Well, she has 4 now. She needs 3 more. It means she will be 36.
Right.
She wins every single one. So yeah, she could do it.
She could,
but I don't know. She wasn't really keen about the idea to continue for 4 more years. Yeah. No, but it was cool because like there's a lot of friends that was also racing Swiss Champs that I usually don't really get to have like a shot at doing like a podium or something in walk-ups.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a friend of mine that I'm coaching. He's a little bit like my little brother, I would say, and he's been racing the European walk-ups so far, and he was like around 90th something, and he's totally privative. You know, he has not much money, and he's just like a really talented rider, but not really like having all the right stuff to get like up there. He qualified for Walker before, but it was only once, and he got 2nd.
Wow.
So vice national champ. So
is it Junior Hernandez or something like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Junior Paros Hernandez. Yeah. So he got 2nd. So literally everyone there was stoked for him because he had lots of like injuries and stuff. And yeah, little tears when I saw him on the podium because obviously like I feel so someone who's been trying for so long, even at national level, you know, it's a big achievement for some people. So yeah, it was literally really happy about all this. And probably more than Cami winning, to be honest, but she knows that.
When I finally get on that podium, there will be a lot of tears.
We'll have a big party.
Exactly.
So, Val di Sole then. Emmy, let's start with Sasha Ernest. Her first World Cup, and she wins junior by 12 seconds with a time that would have been good enough for fourth in elite quali, who were on the track soon after the junior women. That's an incredible performance. She's the Kiwi national champion. Were you aware of her before Val di Sole? Had you seen her ride?
Of course, George. I'm aware of every female rider that's like out there. No, actually, when I was in New Zealand, there was like national champs at Cornet Peak.
Yeah.
And I've heard of her and I've seen her Instagram and stuff because, of course, she like races the same races as Jenna and Jenna's sister as well. And I didn't realize she's really tall. Like she knows like a little bit like same body type as Cami, kind of like long legs. Yeah. And I was amazed. Like I know, we all seen Iris van Leuven ride, and she has like totally opposite side, a more aggressive, tiny like I was. Yeah. And Sasha like makes everything looks easy. And even in Lenzerheide, when before she had a crash, everybody was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I mean, Jenna would tell you if you come to European tracks, it's not always easy to adapt, but she made it look like easy, So I wasn't surprised that she came back in Val di Sole and actually won. But obviously, the way she did it was quite impressive because she's kept getting loose in practice. Jenna was helping me film, and she was filming her full vlog, and she was like getting all over the place, and we're like, she's gonna crash again. But no, she had two solid runs and won by a lot, which is possible on this track. We all know because it's so technical, and it was like kind of a little bit wet as well. Yeah.
She won qualifying by 5 seconds as well, so it was no fluke, the win,
No, and she's been like beating Iris maybe a bit more tight, like at home, but they've been battling each other. And to be honest, like at national champs in their qualifying run, if I'm not mistaken, they beaten Jess Blewett as well in 8 times. Wow. But then Jess was like, "Oh no, that's not going to happen for finals." But obviously, and Jess has been podiuming, so it's not a surprise for me.
So I went and looked at her routes and rain. Big shout out to Seb Frost, by the way, who's battling cancer at the minute. So get well soon, Seb. I went and looked at her routes and rain, and 26 races, she's won 19 of them. And they were all pretty decent level races like Crankworks and Nationals. So you can tell she's legit.
Oh, yeah. And like also the way like she's looks so good on the bike. Yeah. And like she's when she talks to you, it seems like she just doesn't really care. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just riding, whatever." Typical Kiwi, So I think it's a good attitude going into juniors. Not take yourself too seriously, and like I've seen it before. People like get really tense for races because they see the outcome and everything, and they're not like that at all.
No. So Iris van Leuven was second with Lisa Bouladou in third, and Iris was actually, I think she was more thrilled for Sasha winning than I think Sasha was. Like you just said, she was just pretty chilled about it, really.
Yeah, but that's the Kiwi spirit as well. They love when they come overseas. Sasha probably for her first international, or at least World Cup race. Yeah. And have 2 Kiwis in the front. They're just really proud of it, and you could see Iris was like stoked. So yeah, it was cool to see.
So in junior men, Christian Hauser had just gone fastest in Sector 1 when he had a horrible crash in that open section just before the riders go back into the woods. Fastest qualifier Ryan Pinkerton crashed in Sector 2 and lost at least 4 seconds, but still grabbed second, which meant Bodhi Kun took the win without winning a sector. But again, another consistent rider who's leading the overall now. Bodhi looks like a prospect, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few of those juniors that really look like they're going to, enter the elites next year and settle in well. So it's, Yeah,
you mentioned Ryan Pinkerton in the last episode, Jack. You must have been impressed with that run. Have you seen it?
I haven't actually. No, simply because when the juniors are doing their race, we're doing our quali. It's just manic. It's enough to get over and watch Owen. So I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, so you know what it was like. Like 10 years ago, people could crash and still get on podiums. But I think now, in any category, if you have a big error, you're not going to get on the podium. But so to come back and claw it back and lose that amount of time and still get second, I mean, he would have won by quite a margin.
Yeah, he's got incredible roll pace. You can see that from what he's up to in practice. And if he can if you can add consistency to it and start to minimise the mistakes, then yeah.
Cool. So elite women, Cami won qualifying, but then had a big crash in practice on Saturday morning. Just how shaken up was she, Emmy?
Oh, I don't know if I can talk about if I want to talk about it. I have a big drama. No, she was actually so pissed off. Well, she crashed like she broke her helmet. So
wow.
She was just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have a concussion or what's going on? Like, I'm gonna get a headache. Nothing like that happened, but she had her wrist was sore.
Yeah.
And she was just like generally like so pissed off. So I just happened to have sent her a few pictures of the track, and it just had rained through the night, so it was like kind of like patchy, you know.
Yeah.
Some places really wet, some places were like not really wet. So I was just like sent her a picture. Oh yeah, look, like the inside there is a bit wet or whatever. And then she just happened to change line in that really rooty right-hander corner in the middle of the track after like the rock wall.
Yeah.
And so she switched from the inside, which she's usually doing, to the outside because it was dry on my advice, and then crashed there. So she told me, she was like, and I was like, oh my God, like, obviously it was a nightmare. Yeah. And then, yeah, just let her be and whatever. I'm just like, are you okay? She was like, I don't know. So it was literally like a big crash. It was not really like just because so some people have seen Val di Sole, like it's really steep. So from there to the berm that's underneath, it's like almost vertical there. So you have a big drop on if you crash straight on your head. Yeah. But she got really, really lucky. So she felt fine. Like also, she wasn't sure to do summies. She was like, I might just push the gate. And then she felt fine while she was warming up. And then she decided to go and she got second. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
She said she didn't really speak to me at all. She just like went and you don't have a lot of time. You have half an hour to the final. And then she got another solid rundown, which was not mistake free. You know, she did a mistake right after where she crashed. Like when you exit the section to go to that big step down, there's like where Gracey crashed actually in the race.
Yeah.
It's like that right-hander, and she got a foot out there. So you lose a lot of like momentum going to a flat section, you know?
Yeah.
So only being 2 point something off the win with that mistake, I think is a decent run. So I think she was quite happy considering, but obviously, yeah, she's still looking for that win, you know? So that was a frustrating weekend for sure, considering everything, but the outcome was good.
Was she on spikes all week?
Yeah. I know this actually. I interviewed her for Schwalbe after the race. And
right.
To be fair, I was as well.
Cut spikes or full spikes?
Full.
She was on full all week, yeah. So.
Wow. You were on full spikes as well?
Combination. I was dancing between fulls and cuts. What I did was I was started on dries, then went to cuts, and then full spikes when it rained the following morning. Came back down to cuts for quali, and then full spikes back on again because it rained overnight. Did 2 practice runs on cuts, and then it was drying up on full. Sorry, and then I went back to cuts for the semis. And in hindsight, it was probably ready for dry tires by then, in my opinion. But the thing is, like, cuts or fulls give you such confidence when it's a tracks like that. Like if you get on well with it, and I know why Cami's doing it, and it can work really well.
Yeah, I think she's done that in the past as well in dry conditions, if I'm not mistaken, like when it's really, really dusty.
Yeah.
And I think she started on what Magic Mary's, which is like a mixed type of tire. And she liked that. It's just she wanted to try. And then obviously when the forecast was coming in, she was like, oh yeah, I'm switching because I'm like getting used to them, which is a good thing because you know, okay, it's going to rain. So I'm good with this style, whatever happened. And if I like them on the dry, I'm going to like it even more if it rains. And she had won a lot of races on these tires. So she's always feels confident when she had them on. So I can see why.
All my team, Schwalbe Dirty Dans, they just cuts or fulls. That's all most of them run.
When we took the dries off and put them on, we were all like, wow, we feel like we've got sandpaper on our tires, like, because it was so loose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just biting into the ground that the dry tire wasn't able to bite into as hard. So
the second thing on Cami was following on from Eleonora Farina last season. I believe her and Monica have got an elite male rider on the team who's riding with them in practice. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, but he broke himself in Val di Sole, so that's that.
So that's the end of that, is it? What? Tell us a bit about that. I mean, I can obviously see why you're doing it.
He has multiple roles in the team. He's actually a former World Cup rider from Switzerland, and he was racing a little bit before I started. And he was like qualified and everything. He was like good rider, especially like technical rider. So they started to work together more for him being her technical coach.
Yeah.
Like working on basic stuff, because Cam is not a mountain biker, since very long.
Yeah.
So working on like cornering technique and stuff like that, and maybe like really bike skill specific stuff like that you do, Jack, as well as in your coaching school, stuff like that with him. But he's a suspension technician as well for DT Swiss.
Right.
So he works a little bit with Cam's mechanic as well for some like technical suspension specific stuff, and also rides with her because they are kind of like the same speed now. He could be a little bit faster depending on the tracks, but some of them, because he doesn't know the tracks that well, he was just riding behind her. But he can also help setting that suspension because he's riding the track. So it's like multiple roles. It's not only someone that just rides to like help her getting over jumps or whatever, which he doesn't do. And pace wise, that helps as well. But there's multiple aspects to that, which could be helpful for everyone in the team, not just her.
Yeah, cool. Valley was second in quali, but she didn't have Cecile or Cedric trackside, I understand. So she went on a track walk after quali, changed the lines up, and it worked. She won semis and then won final, as you say, by 2.9. That's sign of a maturing rider, isn't it? Having the confidence to go and do that.
Well, I think Valley is just like now not making mistakes anymore, which is the big difference to me. And lines, in my opinion, in Val di Sole, it doesn't really matter too much what line you do. You just need to be confident and ride them fast, and also try to minimize mistakes because it costs you so much energy, and then you're just gonna make more. And she looked good in practice. To be honest, I think Cami looked faster in practice, which is a little bit different than usual. Like usually the years before, Cam always kind of took some time to get up to speed. And this year has been the opposite. She's won, if I'm not mistaken, every quali, or maybe not in Leogang, but she was like very fast straight away.
Yeah.
And for Vali, a bit different. Like she took more time to like get up to speed, but then when she's there, she's just like peaking at the right time and especially not making mistakes. So I think she might really like that format a lot, and it suits her like mental preparation better, so she can just like grow and stuff, and she doesn't have the pressure to perform like in one run. She can like take confidence run after run.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure she's maturing, and we all know she's very talented on a bike, and if she would start to make no mistakes, then it would be hard to beat her, and that's the case right now. So it's she's been consistent so far. We'll see how it keeps going on.
So Jess Blewett was gloveless and she was green until a little stall, but then she finished in third. Marine was fourth, just 0.2 back on Jess, and Nina was fifth, again just 0.2 back on Marine. Very tight amongst those three. But for the overall, is it a 2-horse race this season now? Is it Cami and Valley?
Well, so far it seems that way, but we forgot about someone at least for Worlds, is Rachel.
Yeah. There's a few for Worlds, and we'll get onto that a bit later on. But I think,
I think for the overall, for now, it looks that way. But like you said, Jess had a mistake, and I think she was close in qualifying, and in semis as well. And Marine, not forget, she's getting back to where she was. She needs some more confidence. She's not really feeling like herself just yet, but she might come to that. And Nina obviously had a knee that's annoyed her, and she's thinking world champs, I think, in her head right now. But when that's passed, she might like get up there with both of them. So it will be interesting to see, because world champs is such like in the middle of the season, how that impacts everything. But it's definitely two groups right now, but I think it could mix it up. Like it could mix it up at the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about Lisa Baumann, a fellow Swiss rider, 5th in quali, 7th in semi, 8th in finals. She's having a great season.
Yeah, she's a young rider, comes from cross country originally and then enduro. She still like has the cross country enduro body type, so she's struggling sometimes on the longer tracks, but she's very good at from the enduro side and cross country side as well on technical tracks. Less bike parky. So yeah, she did 9th in Val di Sole last year.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that she did well again this year, but 5th. Like, yeah, it was impressive to see, and also she's obviously on that team, on Cecile's team. I don't know why, but people tend to like push but then crash also a lot. So Lisa had a couple of crashes in the past and couldn't like qualify because of it. But yeah, now she's confirming that she's definitely number 2 Swiss rider, and she's not that far off. So that's cool to see as well.
Yeah, it's horrible, and he did really well to not have a horrible accident. And yeah, I mean, if it had happened somewhere in the trees with obstacles everywhere, it would have probably been worse because he wouldn't have had the time to save it. And he did a great job of saving it. Fair play to him. I didn't realize what happened at first. I watched it.
No, I didn't.
What's he doing? And then it was only on social media later on that I saw what had happened, and I was like, holy shit. So, yeah, but I was just thinking about what you were saying about the crashes. Like, we were watching semis, and like I was down the bottom, and there was more crashes than usual. And like, it has to be the format. Like, because when you think about it, there's, off the top of my head, there's 4 groups of riders up there for the semi-final. There's the group that I was in Val di Sole, which is going to be a very small group, maybe only 1 to 5 riders who are at peace with the fact they're probably not going to be top 30. And they're going to roll down, do their run, be happy with their time, job done. You've then got a very dangerous group of riders where they're probably not going to get top 30, but they're going to fucking try. So they're going to be very, very erratic. You've then got a group that probably should make top 30 and can if they keep their heads. And then you've got the subgroup in there of the ones that do keep their heads and the ones that don't. Then you've got the final group of your Loic Brunis, your Troy Brosnans, your Thibaut Deprellas, who all they have to do is stay on a bike and they're going to be top 30. And I think it has to just be the format causing this crazy area in the middle of like 30 to 40 riders who are all going, oh shit, I really want to do the next one.
Yeah.
And then kind of losing their cool a little bit. So we're seeing more crashes than we used to. And it might be entertaining, but I don't think it's a good thing because it's putting the riders at risk.
Yeah. One of your guys, Emmy, had probably the best save I've ever seen, Jacob Dewitt. Have you talked to him about that?
Yeah. Ask him if his balls were still intact because he was bouncing the sea. No, he's had some bad luck, man. Like already, like I was saying before, in Leogang, he'd rained and he was just like, they had that interruption. He was like 3rd rider after the rain. And now again, he had like the worst condition ever in Val di Sole for his semi. So it was like, for his final, sorry. So it was a bit annoying. He still got like decent result because he got 18th in semi. Wow. So it was like really, really good. And then he's riding, like he's taking some confidence, but obviously he was, so Bernard or these guys that started before had a big advantage comparison to like the mid-pack guys before it dried again. So, but yeah, I'm really proud of Jacob, like for keeping it upright in these conditions twice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know how he did, but he came really hot in there and it was probably one of the most slippery part of the track was like really hard packed. But yeah, that was good to watch for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about Bernard then. First 2 World Cups, probably not where he wants to be, but then he goes and wins Crankworks. Got a bit lucky with the weather in Val di Sole, nearly won it. Was he pissed when Troy beat his time?
Obviously, he's always pissed when he's get beaten. He wants to win everything.
Would you wanted to win it with the asterisks always there though?
Oh yeah, obviously. He just wouldn't care. I mean, he was probably unlucky a couple of times, like everyone else, you know? Like in Leger, back in like a few years back when Deprella won, he was like the best wet rider. Like he got 16th and everybody else got like smoked. So he was just like, he's always good when it's kind of like hard mixed like conditions, but he got lucky there. It was still wet. You could see like his plate and stuff, but obviously it was not as wet as for when Jacob went and Estac and all these guys. And yeah, of course, like when you see people, then you start to believe in yourself. You say, oh, maybe I'm going to win it, because you see that it's not improving. But then the rain stopped, and in Val di Sole it doesn't get too long until the track starts drying out again.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think he can be pleased with his result. Obviously, he always wants more. That's what's made him like a great athlete. But I think it's his best result so far, and he needs to take that.
So Bernard's in the hot seat with 7 riders to go. Benoit and Danny have just pushed him really close. So you sense Bernard's time isn't going to hold. Troy beats it, and then Thibaut beats it. And we need to chat a bit about Thibaut de Prella, because he won Sector 1. He takes his hands off on the bridge to shake them out. Then he wins Sector 3 and crosses the line with his eyes on stalks. We've got the de Prella of 21 back, haven't we?
Yeah, we got to give him a massive shout out. The most entertaining run of the weekend. Like we were at the bottom on tenterhooks. I said to my guys, I was like, Egon crash. Like I'd seen Thibaut listen and shout out Thibaut, like amazing performance. And I'd been watching you in practice, and there was just so much aggression. You can see he's so frustrated that he's not back to where he was. And I think that run is exactly what he needed, because I reckon he'll relax now. And I did speak to him after the race. You could tell he was quite calm. He was like, yeah, I'm pleased I was there. And it was almost like a weight off his shoulders. So I think the rest of his season is going to be quite interesting.
Jackson was the only other rider to win a sector, and he made a huge mistake out of the gate and then claimed sectors 2, 4 and 5. Jack, you picked it?
I did. And all weekend, I just said, I was like, he's going to win. Like, it was just like, he's like the Energizer Bunny who's just like gone wild, and he like.
Are we in like almost coming into like I was thinking about this today, like a new age of downhill, in the sense that there was a big change when G came in. Well, that was before my time, kind of, really. But when G brought strength, started training properly, and then that's been carried on with Gwynny.
Yeah.
And then it's gone on from Gwynny to Amory and Loic, kind of.
Yeah.
Both strong, solid. And you look round, and there's a lot of riders like that now. You look at Matt Walker, people like that. Then you look at Jackson and Jordan, and they don't look like that. You know, they're still 18. Will they go like that, though? Because I was watching Jackson's run, and it looked like he was getting on lines that other people couldn't get on, because he was just so light and just able to flick himself around.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's certainly going to be an element of that. And I was talking to Harry Malloy about it at the Mega, and we were talking about Ronan Dunn, and obviously shout out to Ronan, who's also having an incredible season. It's nice to see him kind of stepping up and being consistent at that level. But Harry was saying, like, Ronan's trail bike, it's like it's new. He doesn't use it, because these guys, they ride downhill almost daily, all the time. And I remember when I first started, and I remember you chat with like Joe Smith, and I can't remember, whoever else in the winter, and they'd be over it. You'd always hear by August, they'd be over it. There's none of that shit now. These guys are doing their hobby at the highest level, and all they want to do is ride downhill. So then, like, Jordan Williams don't go in the gym. Like, apparently they're starting to introduce it into his program now, whatever the hell that means. But they just ride bikes. Yeah. And the skill level that these guys have got compared with us all fuckers and the rest of them, like, it just kind of looks like it's going to be a little bit hard to compete with. Because they're just so comfortable on their bikes. And like you said, they're just able to ride lines and move around almost as if they're in like a different gravitational field or something. It's mad to watch trackside. It really is.
So I've had a message from Steve, Jordan Williams' dad. And if you pick Jackson again, I don't think you two are going to be friends for much longer.
Yeah, he told me to my face halfway through Jordan's run. When Jordan was down on the splits, he come over and bollocked me, and then went back to getting stressed. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting season, and something I think will happen this year is I don't think the same person will win more than one World Cup.
Right.
I think we will have 8 different winners.
So Jordan, one mistake, then crashed into the netting. I saw him at Llangollen last weekend, and he got his GoPro caught in the netting, and I think that was restricting him getting out.
Was he riding last weekend at Llangollen?
He did practice on his e-bike. His bikes weren't there, so he did practice on his e-bike without a battery,
I wonder why.
But he didn't race.
Right.
But he's still pretty buzzing with the start to the season. You know,
You've got to be. You won the opening World Cup, which was your first elite World Cup.
Second back at the next one, was it? Was it a second?
Yeah, exactly. And then last weekend he was third at the fourth split. So he's right there, and that's mint. So it's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Like, it's elite level sport at the highest level. So if it was easy, you wouldn't bother, would you?
No. Finn Isles on the podium again. That's every round this season. Do you think he'll win one before the season's out?
Yeah, he's in my 8 for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'd put money on him winning the overall.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, for sure. He's a contender for the overall as well, I think, because he's consistent, just waiting for everything to align to get that win. But also because Loic, I think Loic is riding better than usual beginning of the season. He just didn't have that run for finals yet, but I think he's really on form. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe he will get his 7th title. That won't be a surprise.
Yeah.
You know?
Another podium for Loris after winning the semi. Again, consistent rider who seems to be taking advantage of the semi-final format, but he'll be wanting more, won't he? I think he'll be on your list of the 8 winners, Jack.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. But I don't think he's going to win the next one.
World champs.
No, excluding world champs. I don't think Loris is going to win the next World Cup. I got a different guy for that.
Is that Andorra? Is that the next World Cup?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to tell us? Or are you?
Yeah, Duprella's going to come out swinging. Home World Cup for Commensal. He's coming off the back of that last one. My money's on him for the next World Cup.
Cool. And I must issue a massive apology to Loic Bruni. My predictions are a curse. 16th in quali, 53rd in semi, 14th in finals. He just never seemed to get going, really, did he?
No.
I don't know. This is weird because in practice it looks so good. I was there since the beginning of the season. He's never looked that good to me in practice. Even sometimes in snowshoe, he was struggling so hard to ride in practice, and then he just did so well in the race. And I don't know why. He just I don't know. Maybe you really cursing him, George, because he's just on form. He just won French championship. That's not easy task, and he looks so good there as well. So it's going to come for him for sure.
So we're running out of time because we're going to have Gracey waiting in a minute. But just 2 quick things I wanted to ask you about. Firstly, how did the riders get on with semi and final on a much more physical track? Were there any complaints about it, or?
I think I've said my feelings, haven't I? So go on, Emmy. What do you think?
Well, I think this mixed emotion. People sometimes like it, and I don't think Val di Sole was people didn't say it was so much worse than the other ones. It's more so maybe the focus side of things that sometimes is a little bit hard, more than the physical. It's just trying to get into the zone for your run and get really focused, and then you do it, and then you have to go again.
Yeah.
Right after. So that's some things Cami said she's find it really hard to do because she find it kind of hard to get in that zone that she can perform that well. So now it's kind of normalizing, we're just going to do race run. Yeah. So that's more so the problem. Physical aspect, obviously it's hard, but then you can also ride a little bit within your limit. And The
only thing I'll add is the physical side of it didn't fuss me at all because we trained for it. So that was just what it was. I was fine physically, but because of the change in weather and the way they cram everything into that day where we have practice, semis and finals, the track conditions had changed and were changing. So we only had time for 2 practice runs in the morning. And on that second practice run, I'd stopped in one spot to just look at some lines and start thinking about what am I doing about tires going into the semis run. I was chatting with Laurie. I looked at my watch. I was like, shit, my run is in 56 minutes. I'm still on track. I need to go and see my mechanic, change wheels, decide what tires we're going to use, get back to the top, go through my process and be in the start gate. I genuinely wasn't ready. I'd done quali, looked at the time gap to 30th and was like, it's 4 seconds. If I have a good morning, I can do that. And I literally finished that second practice run and was like, no chance. I just don't feel ready to put a run down. So whereas if we'd had longer to practice and just the one race run, I would have felt way more prepared to put down my absolute best. So my semi-finals run wasn't my absolute best because there just wasn't time.
I'll ask the second part after we've spoken with Gracey. But we'll be back with Gracey Hemstreet after these messages.
Hi there, it's Jordan Williams from Specialized Gravity. We've just had a mega week and ride from Spain, and top group was here. We had Charlie Hatton and Joe Breeden, so we had some tough competition, but yeah, awesome tracks, awesome uplift. There was some amazing views, and for sure the bike took a beating, so if you come along, make sure you bring your spares. But yeah, awesome week, awesome group of people. Andy's an amazing guy, and all the other people that are there helping out. Just, I couldn't ask for much more, really. Good laugh, and there's a pool there to jump in after a good day's riding. It's pretty cold, so good recovery, and yeah, there's some nice places to eat, so get yourself along because it's a good laugh and good fun. Cheers.
From the suspension experts at J-Tech Suspension comes WPS, an all-new brand focused on making the very best suspension upgrades, parts, and tooling, all made in the UK. With a growing network of the very best suspension service centres in the UK and beyond, and drawing on years of experience, WPS is the best thing that ever happened to your suspension. To find out more, visit wps-mtb.com.
I am delighted to welcome to the podcast the 18-year-old first-year elite who's making huge waves in the elite women's category. Gracey Hemstreet, hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, very well. Here in a nice sunny evening in England. It doesn't look quite so nice where you are there.
Yeah, it's pretty sunny. Nice.
Oh, it is actually nice.
Good.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about where in the world you are right now.
Yeah, I'm in Fernie, BC right now. We just got here like 2 minutes ago. So perfect timing. But yeah, it's our nationals this weekend. So
cool. And I believe you're setting up a new bike for Worlds. Is that a new bike, as in a prototype, or is it a fresh version of what you've been riding this season?
It's a new bike. So yeah, it's fresh.
So there's a new Norco downhill bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the engineers have been working on it for like 2 years now, I think.
Right.
And yeah, we're finally hopping on it. So.
And does it look different to the one you've been riding? Vastly different?
Yeah. Yeah, totally different. Yeah.
Is it high pivot?
Yeah.
Ah, so they're sticking with that. All right, cool. So the first thing I need to ask you about, and I've spent the best part of a decade trying to get the nickname G-Force established for myself, but no one was having it. I can
Not even in the DJ days.
No, I couldn't even get it then. But no one was having it, and I saw it on your helmet at Val di Sole, and I was like, no, she can't have it. I wanted that. How did that nickname come about?
Sometime last year. I don't know. My nickname was like G Hemi because my last name's Hemstreet, but then I don't know, it just came about G Race. It's Gracey.
Oh, is yours G Race?
Yeah, G Race, yeah.
I'm saved. I thought it was G Force. Sorry, I misheard it. I can still be G Force. I can still be G Force.
Yeah, you can. It's all yours.
I'm going to message Brayton. I reckon Brayton's the kind of person who could get that going for you, George. He loves them.
G-Force. All right, Gracey. So the good thing or the lovely thing about having young people on the podcast is that, well, obviously it's a first for you. So maybe there's a story that no one's heard. And yeah, that's pretty cool to have you. So you grew up in BC and you got your first bike at the age of 9. Is that correct?
Oh, mountain bike. I was riding at like 3, but yeah, around 9. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your dad and also your granddad that I see a lot at the races, like were like having a big role at the Coast Gravity Park. Is that correct?
Yeah, my dad and then the Coastal Crew boys. And then, yeah, it all came together.
Yeah. Did your dad set Coast Gravity Park up? Was he one of the people who set it up in the first place?
Yeah. He was like the main builder. Well, there was a lot of people involved, but yeah, he was the main guy. And then like Curtis Robinson and Dylan Dunkerton. And yeah, lots more people. But
and when was that? How long how old were you when that was happening?
I was around 8 when the building started happening, and then 9 in 2014 it opened.
On 2014, you were 9.
Yeah.
This is funny. Yes.
Even your older was.
Yeah, no, you want to talk about that. This is definitely the bad thing about you having young people on the show, so you realize how old you are. So yeah, we talk about Coast Gravity Park. How often do you go ride there? I think I know the answer to that because I see your amazing post about it, but I guess you go there pretty often, hey?
Pretty much every day, yeah. It's in my backyard, so might as well.
Tell us a bit about growing up there, like around this type of like riding, because obviously the West Coast in Canada has produced some incredible riders in the recent years, like obviously Steve Smith, Vinage, Brandon Semenak, Mark Wallace, and of course Jackson Golson. So telling us about growing up in that area.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Like we've traveled all around the world, but my favorite place is home because just all the riding is just amazing, and all the people are awesome. So yeah, it was great. I looked up to pretty much everyone I lived around, and like Curtis and Brandon, obviously, and Finn, and yeah, it's just awesome to be able to ride with them. And yeah, it's great.
Who was the hero growing up?
Yeah, who is your favorite rider? That's what I wanted to know.
Brandon, definitely. Yeah, he's like my biggest idol. He's pretty sick.
Cool. So you started racing 2015 at the kids race at Crankroads, is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was it like during Crankroad Whistler, or is that?
Yeah. It was a beeline race. It was like my first downhill.
Beeline race.
Yeah.
So how old were you there? Were you 10 years old?
I think 10, yeah. 10 or 11, yeah.
Is there like a age range you're allowed to compete there, or is it like open for pretty much everyone that can go down beeline?
Oh my God, there's like 5-year-olds racing it. You can go like, you can be like so young to like
as old as
15, I think. Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. So yeah, in the first edition you participated, you came 6th, and then the following year you won it. Is that so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's a long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're 10, so it's like a long time ago. But so did you remember that at all? Did you like go there and got 6th and you're like, oh, that's cool, but I want to win it next year? Or were you already quite competitive back then?
Oh yeah, I've been competitive like my whole life. But yeah, definitely. I was like, oh man, I gotta win next year. So I was just on my bike basically every day, and then just having fun. Ended up going well.
Cool. So 2018, you started racing BC Cups, and I'm looking at the results, and you won your first race, but you were the only rider in the 13 to 16 category. So I went and looked at how you would have done in the other categories, and 17 to 29, yeah, you'd have won that. 30 plus, yeah, you'd have won that. And then there were some other categories, some UCI categories, 19 to 29 and 30 plus. Yeah, you'd have won both of those. In fact, you would have finished 3rd in elite, and I think you were 14 or 15 at the time.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't actually know that. That's crazy.
So were you conscious of how well you were doing?
Not really. I don't think so. I was just having fun, and yeah, there's no one in my category, so I was just kind of riding by myself. But yeah, it's fun.
But that kind of makes it even more incredible because you've not got anyone to push you, so you're just going down doing your thing.
Yeah, totally. I was just riding.
On that line of thought, George, I hope you've not written it into the podcast, and I'm going to ruin a later question. But Gracey, do you have any brothers or sisters, or?
Yeah, another brother and a sister. My brother rode a lot when he was younger, and then he rode at Whistler a lot, and my dad would drive in there like all the time. And that's where the idea of Coast Gravity Park came about, because they're like, oh man, we need something on the coast like this. So yeah.
So how old are they now?
My brother's 25 and my sister's 21.
Okay, and did your sister ride as well?
No.
Okay, so it was any kind of riding you were doing was with the family, was with your dad and your brother, I guess. So I guess that must have helped quite a bit when you were younger.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I just grew up with like all the coastal crew boys and everything. So yeah, they're practically family as well. So
can I just ask, like, I went and looked on the map to find out where Coast Gravity Bike Park was, because I knew it was on, it was on the west coast. I knew it was near Vancouver somewhere, and I was like, oh, I wonder how far it is from Whistler. And on the map, it didn't look that far, but then I did a Google Maps from one to the other, and it was 9 hours, 5 minutes. But it did seem to route all the way through Vancouver and stuff like that. So how far apart are they actually? Is it commutable in a day? Do you go for a day?
Yeah. So from where I live, you have to take a ferry to the mainland. They're connected, but it's pretty weird. So yeah, you take a ferry and then it's a 3-hour drive to Whistler. So it's not too bad.
Right. So you could do that in a day and come back.
Yeah, totally. We did that a lot.
Okay, so sticking with moving through your kind of timeline and going to 2019, you were national champ for the first time. Tell us a little bit about that weekend, because it sounds like that was quite a close race with Emmy Land. George just put there that you won by 0.17.
Yeah. When we're racing BC Cups and everything, me and Emmy really battled it out for a while. But she's in Duro now. But yeah, no, it was cool. It was awesome to win that. But yeah, I didn't really get to race with the sleeve on at all because I was so young. But it was awesome.
Okay, cool. And then you also went to Crankworks. You did the Garbanzo, finished 4th in the 13 to 18 category. I've done that race myself a few times. How did you get on racing for that long?
Not too well. I was sitting down for quite a lot of it because I was so dead. People who are good at that, it's hardcore. It's insane. Sure. Yeah. So 4th in the Garbo, 2nd in the ADH, and 1st in the Canadian Open downhill. That wasn't a bad week at all. Happy with that, I'm guessing? Yeah, I'm stoked. I was very happy.
Okay. And then obviously at the start of 2020, you'd headed out to Rotorua for Crankworks and COVID hit. How did you, at that age and keen to get on with your racing career, how did you cope with the lockdown?
So we were in Rotorua and then we flew out to back home, and then everything shut down the day we got home. So it was pretty crazy. We just got home in time, and then I just kept riding and just stuck at home at the bike park, and it wasn't too bad because where I live it's pretty quiet and remote. But
there's worse places to be stuck, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. So were you quite frustrated through that time, and were you kind of desperate to get back to competing, or were you kind of quite at peace with, I can stay home and ride? And
yeah, I was just kind of cruising. I wasn't very I wasn't even too competitive then, but I was happy riding my bike.
Were you still in school at this point?
Yeah.
So when did you actually finish school?
Last year in January. Last year in January. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I went online and then I graduated half a semester early so I could race World Cups. So that was helpful.
Cool. You have a career path ahead of you, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2021, when things got going again, first year junior, but you didn't have a factory deal at that time, and you only came over and raced Maribor, World Champs, Val di Sole and Lenzerheide. What were your first impressions of the World Cup circuit?
Yeah, first impression, well, I was pretty terrified. It's a big step going to Europe. But Maribor, I went full out in my quali and got first. And I was like, oh my God, what? I had no idea. And then, I got, finals wasn't very good because they all smoked me, Phoebe and Isabella. But it was amazing. I loved it. It was a good experience.
What bike were you riding then?
I was on a Commensal Supreme.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask, what terrified you kind of about it? Was it the tracks, or was it just the whole aspect of, God, these are my heroes, kind of, oh my God, I'm racing against? Which one of those two was it?
The tracks, and then just the whole scene, seeing Miriam and everyone that I looked up to my whole life. It was oh my God, I'm here. It was crazy.
And how does it feel now to be in elite alongside them?
It's still kind of, I don't know. It's hard to believe. Yeah, it's insane. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as you mentioned, you qualified first in Maribor, finished 5th. Did you have a crash or any issues in that run, or was it like you just said? Did you just kind of get beat and you were like, "Whoa, okay"?
Yeah, I got smoked fair and square. Yeah.
So then on to Worlds, qualified 2nd and finished the bronze medal. Was that how did you feel? Obviously, that's a big achievement getting the medal.
Yeah, it was awesome. I definitely wasn't expecting it. That's my favorite track, I think. But I just loved it and had fun, and it ended up going well. So good.
Okay. And then after that, it was on to Leogang, where again, another good qualifier with third, and you did one better in the finals with second. Did you return home like super happy after those races? What was the feeling when you headed back at the end of the season?
Yeah, totally. I was really happy. Just like completing 3 races and like doing fairly well. And then, I knew I was going to do second year junior, and I was motivated. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you were racing as a privateer in 2021, did you kind of feel a lot of pressure to produce some results to try and get some sponsorship for the following year, or was that not a factor?
I don't really think I was thinking about it, to be honest. But opportunities came my way, and it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So Gracey, in 2022, you, like you said, opportunity comes, and then you signed with Norco.
Mm-hmm.
You actually became the first Canadian junior woman to win a World Cup. So you won your first World Cup in Lords. I actually remember that because I was coaching Jenna Hastings, and I remember you were there in front of the barrier, kind of like doing your warm up and stuff. And it was Jenna's also first ever World Cup. So she was terrified, probably the same as you were terrified the year before.
Totally.
And obviously Lord is no joke, but you won that by 6 seconds, and a time that would have been good for 6:08. And everybody probably remembers the sick tabletop that you did on the finish line jump, because obviously it's not enough to win by 6 seconds. You need to like put in more style on the finish than any other rider, male or female, out there. That was pretty impressive. Let me tell you that everybody remembers that. Cammy was like, "Oh, who's this?" she remembers the table. She was like getting sick of me showing her that. She was like, "Who's this?" Yeah,
That's so
and then So tell us a bit about how you found Lords, because it's a tough track, an European track. Like the dirt is not like at home, like, and everyone struggled because it was like tough this week. So tell us about Lords and how it was first World Cup of this year for you.
Yeah, first World Cup of the season last year. I wasn't really going on with any expectation, but I definitely trained really hard. Like I was aiming for first, obviously. That track is honestly terrifying. I'd say the scariest one of them all, just because when it rains, the dirt turns
the wall.
Yeah, no. I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan of that for sure. But it was insane. It didn't even hit me that I won until like a week later. I was like, oh my God, I actually did that. But yeah, it's crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah, I can remember Lords as well, actually, because I was up there for my warm up, and I know your mechanic, Lewis, and obviously I know you. And I was just starting to set stuff up with my mechanic, and you and Lewis were to my left. And I didn't know who you were at the time, but I knew him. And then Emmy, you were there. And I remember Lewis coming back over, just like jumping around, so happy that you'd won. I'd forgotten about that until Emmy just jogged my memory there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you won again in round 2 at Fort William. Have you been to Fort William in the first year? Was it your first Fort William?
That was my first time, yeah.
That's funny. How did you like the track there? Because I remember the first time I came to Fort William, I was like, what is that?
Yeah. I was like, oh my, it's so physical. Like I could barely hold on in the jumps. Like it was terrifying. I don't know how I won. Like Phoebe had a crash. She should have won. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a fluke.
That must have been a buzz though, to beat the local girl.
Yeah, I felt pretty bad. Like, I don't know. Yeah, she should have won, but oh well.
Well, that's racing.
That happens.
Yeah, I think you were pretty consistent, like third in Leogang in the rain, and you won again in Lenzerheide. I think you showed everyone that Lenzerheide is kind of track that suits you this year as well. So how comfortable you were in the women's elite. I think all these results, like being so consistent, even if you said like some of the races were maybe not like Lords, maybe wasn't a track that you particularly like, still winning, like must have given you incredible confidence for your career.
Yeah, totally. I never expect to win, but then it just happens, and it's obviously in junior. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
The fact that you're so consistent, like you were just like, even if you had, maybe you could see make it third place in Leogang, maybe you struggle a little bit that week, but you still got third, like, so it was like so consistent. You were like, okay, like even if I mess up a little bit, I can still be top 3. So that's different than just like fighting to get third, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That my confidence definitely went up last year, and then it's pretty crazy actually. I crashed in my finals, but I still made it on the podium.
Oh, you crashed in finals and you got third.
Yeah.
See, well, I guess it was really muddy, and like you could crash and still get a decent result, because obviously, like I always compare, because you raced against Jenna last year. She threw up in a helmet in a race run and got second.
I know.
So like crazy things happens in the junior race for sure. Jack, do you want to add something to it?
I was just going to ask, were you spending any time during that second year of junior looking at the elite women's times, and were you aiming to be competitive in that category as well, if that makes sense, or was that not your focus? Were you just focusing on the junior women?
Well, I was obviously focusing on the junior, but I'd always take a look at the elite. And some races were pretty close. Well, Lords was the closest. I was pretty impressed by myself. I was like, wow, that's cool. But no, definitely looking at the elites too.
Yeah, so that gave you nice confidence coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
So George put all the results from your last junior year on the script there. So it's like Lords first, Fort William first, Leogang third, Lenzerheide first, Walnut second, Snowshoe first, Montanen third, and Val di Sole first. So you can see how consistent you were. It's like not much there. And I know for a fact it wasn't maybe all smooth for you, but without going into them all, like which was your best performance, you think, out of like your last junior year?
Yeah, I'd honestly say Lords was pretty good. And then probably Val di Sole as well. Yeah, I had a good run at Val di Sole.
If you can win the first race of the season and then the last race of the season, that's a pretty good way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, I was sick.
Favorite track of these?
I think Lenzerheide definitely favorite. Yeah, for sure.
I knew that.
What is it you like about Lenzerheide?
The jumps in the middle where she can hit the big lip and make me scream because she's done the biggest wheel I've ever seen. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. It's like I don't find it scary at all. It's just really fun to ride, and I really like it. Lots of jumps. Actually, off camera bit at the top is terrifying. That's always a scary part, but other than that, it's sick. I like it.
Okay, so you won the overall pretty convincingly. You had 440 points, and Phoebe got 350 something in second. Did you win the overall before the end? Were you already safe, or?
No, I wasn't safe till the last race, and then Phoebe had a crash in qualies, and then at the top of my race run, she didn't show up, and then me and Lewis were like, "Oh, well, I guess I just won the overall." And then, then I dropped in. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a weird position to be in. Like last year when Amaury didn't know if she would won or not for 1 point, and then Finn didn't start, so he was like, "Oh, I guess I won," and then he crashed in his run. But you still won the race, so I guess you must have dealt with that pretty easily, eh?
Yeah, I didn't think about it too much.
Would you say you're strong, like mentally?
Yeah, I'm pretty strong. I try to not stress in this tough one, and not think about the pressure of anything. It works out.
Okay, so this is where my next question is going. Like world champs in Leger. Obviously, from your result, you're probably the favorite or one of the favorite. Did you feel additional pressure with like coming with world champs?
Not totally. No. Yeah, no. I'd say no. I was just going to have fun. But I did that was like my first World Cup, like with my Red Bull helmet and everything. And I was like a little more stressful, but I got used to it.
Yeah. So you see the third and then finished second behind Jenna. But then obviously there's Isabella crashed and something happened to Phoebe as well. So there's a lot of time to third where Valentina from Colombia got third. How did you come away from that race? Like, were you happy with silver, or I guess it's a pretty good achievement, but I guess from your season, maybe you wanted the stripes.
Yeah, definitely. I left the finish crowd crying. I was pretty sad. I didn't have the best run, but it was all right. Jenna deserved it. She was killing it all year, so it was great for her. And
did that motivate you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was kind of I was motivated the whole time. It kind of got me down a little bit, but then it's okay, fresh start, let's go again. So yeah, just kind of forgot about that one.
But in the off season, when you were training, was that the motivation, or
like world champs?
Yeah.
No, not really. Just kind of to be consistent and have fun. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So you midway through, you mentioned it a few minutes ago. This Red Bull helmet. Midway through 2022, you received it from Brandon Seminock. That's a pretty big moment. Did you have any idea it was coming?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Like, do you know? I don't know if you guys know Nick Genovese, but he's from Mindspark Cinema. He was like texting me, "Okay, can I follow you around all day? I want to follow you around my camera." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." And then my whole family showed up that day as well, and I was like, "Oh, all right." And then when I was going out for whip off, G Atherton, he was like, "Hey Gracey, just letting you know, you're gonna have a good day today." And I'm like, "All right, okay, I know what's happening." So yeah. I knew, but it was definitely, I was still so shocked. I didn't really have a reaction. I was just mind blown. Didn't actually, it was crazy.
There's a SRAM video, probably the one you've just mentioned, Nick Genovese shot, I presume. So I watched that this morning. It's called Steps to the Top. And you were presenting with that helmet, and that was a lovely moment. But what stood out for me was your whips. I think Emmy's mentioned them already. I was watching it. And I genuinely said, fucking hell, when I saw you do it. It's the first time, I've seen you doing them in practice at the races and stuff, but I was like, wow. I've got to be careful how I phrase this. Emmy might shoot me down here, because I've got to be very careful. If Emmy doesn't, my wife will, probably from the other room. But it's not like you're good for a girl. There's none of that, is it? You are genuinely legit good at it. Is it something you practice a lot?
I don't know. I would just always follow the boys at the bike park, and they'd be doing it. So I kind of just like caught along and started doing it too. So yeah, I just grew up kind of whipping. So
how old would you say you were where you could when you could start whipping well? 10, 12?
I'd say like 12 or 13.
Wow.
Or maybe a little older, but yeah.
We'll accept that.
Yeah. Is it too late for me, Jack? Is it too late for me to learn?
It's too late for you, George. Not with a granite school.
So, Brandon presented you with that helmet. Do you ride with him a lot? Because he's you said he was the hero growing up. He's a bit of an enigma to us over here, because he's just an incredible bike rider.
Yeah, he is.
But you don't hear him on podcasts. He's not a big social guy. I mean, when I say the social guy, he doesn't do any selfie type stuff, or vlogging or anything like that. He posts the videos, the amazing videos he does. So you can't find out that much about him outside of competition and the videos he produces. Are you good friends?
No, not really. He's very, no one on the coast seems to know what he's up to. He's always busy doing something, but yeah, I probably don't know any more than you do about him.
Right,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought from that video, it seemed like he knew you pretty well when he was giving you the helmet and stuff.
Well, I grew up riding with him at the bike park and stuff, but yeah, that's about it.
And tell me what's that like as an experience riding with Brandon Seminock?
Oh, yeah, it was really cool. I'm even still intimidated by him, but it was very intimidating. I would always be scared to go up next to him on the shuttle or whatever, but yeah, he's an awesome dude and super nice.
Yeah. Has he taught you stuff?
Not really. I just rode with him lots at the bike park. He would always follow me and give me tips and stuff. But yeah, he's sick.
Is anybody who did you learn from?
I'd just say the boys that I'd party lap with, basically. I haven't had any coaching at all ever, but yeah, it'd just be bike park laps.
Yeah, it's kind of indirect coaching, isn't it? When you're always riding with people who are good at something.
Faster.
Emulate what they're doing and learn from it. It's especially when you're a young person, because you can just absorb it all. And
totally.
Definitely not a bad environment to grow up learning to ride, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So at the end of 2022, Norco announced that they were pausing their factory team, which I think was a surprise to a lot of people. Definitely a surprise to me when I saw that come out.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's our question. So they only then went and unpaused it a few weeks later. Was that kind of a little bit of a traumatic couple of weeks for you? Did they give you any assurances that you were still going to be supported, or was it an unknown time period for you?
It's pretty unknown, but yeah, I knew the week before it went on pink bike. Like it was bad actually. Yeah, not good. But yeah, I had other like opportunities, but then I don't know. I just kind of then like a week later, like new management and everything came in, and then yeah, it was just I kind of hit the restart button and everything like just was better from the year before, and then like all right, and then I just felt comfortable with the team, and yeah, just re-signed.
It was almost internal changes at Norco that meant they decided to reignite the team once they got settled. Okay, that's interesting.
Totally, yeah.
Good. So into 2023, you went and won the test event at Lords. Did that give you a good boost going into the season?
Not really, to be honest. We were all just really scared of the track and just trying to get down. But yeah, I don't know. It was all right.
Yeah, okay.
The track was terrifying.
Yeah,
I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Lords in the wet, very unpredictable, and there's not really a tyre that will do the job. So yeah, for sure. Okay, so World Cup started, and in Lenzerheide you got faster through the week. You qualified 11th, 3:29.3, 4th in the semi, 3:13.7, and then 6th in the final. But again, it was a faster time. You were only 0.4 off the podium. It's solid progress. Were you happy with your weekend?
Yeah, I was really happy. And seeing Rachel win, I was like the most insane thing I've ever seen. But yeah, no, I was really happy about it. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about lining up against Rachel Atherton.
It was insane. Like she's like I've looked up to her like my whole childhood. Being like, oh man, I want to be like her one day. And then seeing her there racing against her was surreal.
Because I imagine you never thought that day would happen. Because she,
no, never.
Yeah, she could almost be retired. She went away for a good while. Nobody knew she was definitely going to come back.
No, yeah, amazing that she did. That's so impressive. Yeah,
definitely. So then on to Leogang. Again, qualified 15th, 8th in the semi, and 7th in the final. Under a second off the podium. So more good consistency and getting faster throughout the weekend. Val di Sole qualified 6th, 3rd in the semi, 7th in the final, getting faster each run. Emmy, did you say earlier, did you crash in your finals run?
Yeah, I did.
So what's the feeling now that,
out the front door? It was a big crash.
It was a big one, yeah. No, I was like having pretty much the best run of my life. I think I probably would have gotten second, but no, I was so... Yeah, I'm still pretty mad about that. But yeah, I know the podium and everything's it's coming. I'm just gotta be patient.
Yeah. Why did the crash happen?
I don't know. I almost crashed in the corner before it because I was like trying to not use my brakes, and then almost slid the front, and then I think I just went too inside, right like by the tree, and then just caught a root and then went over the bars.
Okay. So do you feel you were kind of pushing harder than you should have done to try and hunt that podium, or was it just one of those things?
It was just one of those things. I was feeling so good. Like, I wasn't feeling out of my comfort zone at all. It was like pushing the right amount. No, it was a good feeling. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So we've seen, you're pretty good at the semis, getting good semi-final results. Are you a fan of that format?
I actually like it. Yeah. It kind of takes me a bit to get up to pace in general. And then, just kind of gives you kind of like a second chance almost, but not really.
Yeah. A bit more information on the way to the finals run, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking forward to going back to the old format at Worlds with seeding and then just the one race run, or would you rather the semis in there, or do you not care?
I don't really care. It's what it is. But
I was going to say, I get the feeling you're just ready to race your bike and or whatever it is you do with it.
Totally.
So currently sitting 7th in the overall, yet to achieve that first podium. Clearly, as you just said, it's on the cards very soon, anytime soon. What are the aspirations for the rest of the season? What can you share with us?
I want to, something like kind of clicked in Val di Sole in my riding. I felt so good. I don't know why, but I just want to keep that pace going and try and get a top 5 overall. But that's the goal anyway, but we'll see what happens.
I think that's very achievable for sure from what we've been.
Gracey, are you going to try to do something about that first split?
Yeah, I'll try. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Gracey's have a tendency to like start in a race quite like chilly.
So
like
slow.
she's a chill. Yeah, no, not slow. But she's just quite a chilled and laid back person, and that's how she started to run and then started getting faster. But yeah, definitely, if you can improve on this first split, the people need to be scared because you're gonna get some results for sure.
Yeah, need to work on it.
I was just about to say, like, you talking to you this evening, you do seem like an extremely relaxed person. Do you feel like you almost are quite relaxed leading up to the run, and it takes you that first sector to go, oh yeah, we're going now?
Yeah, I'd say that's about correct. And yeah, my semifinal, it was the gnarliest run. I tried to like push right off the start and then almost crashed so hard. I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do about it. But
so you almost like, you're like finding your rhythm in the run, and then you're like, oh, there it is. Whereas with the semi-final, you tried to force the issue and push it over the line. Interesting.
Maybe you should try and ride with Tawny. Tawny's the queen of the first sector.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll drag you along.
Yeah. Maybe I can keep that. Yeah.
And then it's hardline this weekend. Given you're a Red Bull athlete, and as we've talked about quite a lot, jumping is definitely your forte. Is it an event like hardline something that you kind of like the look of for the future for yourself?
Totally. Yeah, I got asked if I wanted to do it this year, but I don't know. We had some testing and stuff, and I don't know if I'm like quite ready for it. I'd rather just, be prepared somehow and make it, safer for myself. So yeah, it's pretty gnarly. We don't want to get destroyed. Yeah.
So we've just been talking in part one of the podcast about this new breed of downhill racers who are coming through. You've got Jackson and Jordan in the men's elite field, and how they just ride their bikes a lot. They don't do as much gym work perhaps as some of the more established riders. How are you in that same school?
This last winter I was in the gym about like 80%. I was not really I was not really riding my bike very much, just because it was like fully snowy for like 2 months, and then the team didn't go anywhere, and then I was just in the gym for like 2 hours a day.
Given where you're from, do you do any snowboarding, skiing? Are you into that kind of thing?
Surprisingly, not at all. I skied once last year, and I was on the ground for most of the day. So it's definitely not my forte. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for making the time to come on the podcast. We'll let you get back to getting this bike set up. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and best of luck for the rest of the season. If I can get a media pass for Worlds, need to give a mention to Suzanne Lenz at the UCI. Maybe you can sort that out for me, Suzanne. I'll maybe drop by and see how you're getting on, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Amazing.
Excellent. We'll be back with more after these messages.
My name is Amory Pion, and I strive to develop the best downhill tire ever.
Amory asked us for something that offers an edge over Magic Mary.
We were all looking for something new, I guess. We needed something for more precision. So from that, we just worked all together to make it happen.
Being fair, actually, the team started the development. Maxime, he started to cut down a big Betty and try to get it into shape to make it work.
The grip is just perfect. The Taki-chan just gives you the best precision you need.
It just gives you a lot of braking traction, safety, and corner hold. It's like riding on rails. So if you're an active rider, it's super rewarding. If you're a passive rider, it's still a fantastic time.
If you're enjoying the Making Up the Numbers podcast, hit subscribe now so you don't miss an episode, and drop us a review whenever it's convenient. For additional content, follow us on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing.
Choose single track, choose print, choose digital, choose an independent mountain bike magazine, choose mountain bike culture, choose adventure and mishap, choose great stories and glorious photography, Choose ad-free access to our website. Choose time out with a mug of tea. Choose an annual subscription. Choose a monthly subscription. Choose discounts in our shop on a range of ethical products. Choose bobble hats. Choose hip flasks. Choose gift subscriptions for your friends. Choose single track salvation for your arse. Choose a username. Choose a community. Choose to support independent publishing. Choose your future and our future. Choose single track.
So, before we get into Hardline and Worlds, the one bit I wanted to ask you about Val di Sole that we didn't get time to before we spoke to Gracey was the drone shots a lot better in Val di Sole, but are they off-putting for the riders? Is it sometimes with cameras it looks like you're closer than you actually are? Is it something anyone commented about?
I'll let you know when I do a finals, George. They don't drone in the semi.
Cam didn't say anything.
Right,
like Val di Sole was closer. It couldn't be much further than Leogang. It was like literally in the sky. but Val di Sole, no, I don't think she noticed it. But Cam doesn't really notice when someone
you shouldn't be noticing
someone familiar. Well, I do all the time. Like Bernard was telling me how he heard Elliot in his finals run. Elliot was on the side of the track, and he was like, "Oh, but he was where nobody was." But yeah, some people notice more than others.
And the most distinctive voice around as well.
Yeah. Probably. But yeah, I don't think I haven't heard about people being annoyed by it.
Something actually from Val di Sole, we touched on the commentary, didn't we? In Lenzide and Leogang.
Yeah.
I, from a personal perspective, have to give obviously a big shout out to Rick and Cedric on their improvements when they commented on myself. They were very nice, to the point where Cedric said I looked thin, but incredibly strong athlete, he said. And then they referenced me to Giathan. Now, if that isn't a massive compliment, I don't know what is. So yeah, from my side of things, well done, boys. Keep going.
You're their biggest fans now.
Yeah.
But I wonder why though, because they also talk a lot about the pivot bike and everything. They're complimenting the bike and Bernard and whatever. And
I have my moment.
I don't know. No, but I was like, oh wow, they saying a lot of good things about this pivot bike. That's nice, they did not shy about expressing about certain people or bikes, which I found quite surprising.
They've been nice, and nice is nice, whereas previous years certain people have not been nice. And
what was it, like a monkey? No,
I don't mind that. That's funny, and I deserve that.
Right.
That was in 2011, and I definitely deserved everything Rob said that day. It's more like Claudia always used. It's always why are they trying so hard? Why are they pedaling so hard? It's like, what are you on about?
Yeah, pretty negative.
Cedric actually said something like that in Lenzide. I think it was Lenzide when me and Dan did our semis about what they're pushing so hard from the gate in a negative way, and it's like, well, of course we are. It's a 3-minute race run.
Yeah, you're trying your best to get.
So, but no, I thought much better.
Cool. So, as we mentioned when we were chatting to Gracey, it's Hardline this weekend. First question: are you excited for it?
Not at all. Won't watch it.
I almost forgot it was on, but yeah, now. No, I'm excited for it. Yeah, there's nothing on. Oh, there's Canadian champ and Jacob and Dane Jewett racing, so I'll follow that as well. But yeah, for sure, excited to see the girls riding.
Yeah, well, that I'm concentrated to say. I just remembered, it might have been when we had Bernard on, or maybe it was at the end of last season, and I said to you, we were talking about Hardline, I said, I haven't watched the final yet, but I will go and watch it, and I realised today I never went back and watched the final of Hardline. I don't know why it doesn't seem to excite me.
I'm not interested.
And the reason, the way I was thinking about it is, Tyson Fury, the boxer, he announced I don't know if do you know Tyson Fury, Emmy? Yeah. He announced a fight this week against a guy who was in the UFC. And it's interesting to people who aren't that into boxing as to what's going to happen in this fight. But if you're into racing, I felt that Hardline's a bit the same way. The best riders aren't there.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of racing, kind of. It's a bit like, well, let's see why these riders hit 90-foot gaps and things like that. and see what happens?
I feel like, to me, it's almost more the process to get to the race, and is almost more interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a diehard fan of any like sporting event in general, so I think it's pretty cool to watch. And I know it's very important to Bernard, who is my friend and teammate. So obviously, I'll like root for him. But obviously, if he wasn't racing, maybe I wouldn't be that interested, you know. But obviously now with like the female riders trying to like at least hit stuff and everything and all the coverage, it makes it also interesting. It's quite something different. But I would understand if you wouldn't be into it. But obviously, a lot of people that I like or friends out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if like mid-season just before Worlds is the right place for it. The only rider in the top 10 standings who might be there is Laurie. But with Worlds in Fort William, where he won a few weeks ago at the National, would you risk it if you were him? I know he's a Red Bull athlete, but would you risk it?
You wouldn't think so. No. Depends if he sees it as a risk, though. That's the thing. If he's comfortable with the track and it's not windy and like, he might not.
His eyes are like wide open. Does he see it as a risk?
But I don't know, to some people, Hardline is almost more important than Worlds. Like, at least for someone like Bernard, he sees value in that maybe other people don't see, and I respect that, you know. But definitely, maybe another date would be better. But I guess they tried to like make it in the summer for the weather to be better. I don't think they really succeeded so far, but. Maybe one of the reasons why. Yeah,
with the season finishing so late, it's probably October's. It's going to be like nearly November by the time they'd be able to get round to it. Probably. Jack, I've probably asked you this before, but I can't remember the answer. Would you race it if you were invited?
Yep, you have asked me, and my answer is now no. And I asked you if I could go in, I think it was 2016, and you didn't get me an invite. So,
but you would have done it then.
Yeah, I would have done it 2016, 17 when I was in my mid to late 20s and I was having my better seasons, absolutely. But I wasn't cool enough to join the party. So
you've just been talking about Emmy. There's a strong female contingent of riders there. Jess Blewett, I think, is there. I've already seen Tani jump in the cannon, which is pretty impressive. I think Louise Ferguson might be there as well. How long do you think it'll be before we see a woman taking part in Hardline, in the race?
Oh, it really depends also on the weather and the way they can prepare for it. If they had a great week, not much wind, and they can practice like full runs, I don't see why they can't do it. Obviously, the roll gap hasn't been jumped by any female yet. I think it's probably the most intimidating feature with the two big doubles, because obviously of the, I don't know. We always wonder why it would be so hard, but I guess the cannon is quite a hard impact and the girls made it like no problem. So you would be surprised that I think it's more the time that you have and the fact that you have to mentally like overcome fear so much. Yeah. Like if you come back another year, then you have this ticked off, and it would just like take a little bit more time and you don't want to like rush it as well. But yeah. Definitely, Hardline has come far also for the first time the boys raced it until now. So it would take a little bit of time, but I wouldn't be surprised it would be like next year or soon at least.
On that video Tani posted, the run into the cannon and didn't look that great. She was kind of hopping, I think. You think you come around a corner, it looked pretty rough.
It was just wet. It's just wet and rough. Like So it's not it's not a highway. It's just definitely hard to generate speed, but it's cool to see Bernard try to like help the ladies out, and he's always been like this with me, and also try to like make progression for the ladies also happen, which you can criticate him on a lot of stuff, but I think it's pretty cool that he's doing that.
Maybe you should go.
Me? Film, you mean? Filming with my phone, you mean?
Bernard's won it 3 times. I think it's 3 times before. He clearly loves it. You've just said, how much he values it. Have you spoken with him this week?
I never speak to him on Hardline week. It's just not no. He's just in the zone and he's just in there. And I'll send him comment on his stuff, but no, he's in his little world. Well, Lisa has been there, so that's a huge advantage. But then Gracey hasn't been there and she won it the first time she's been there. So, if you have the talent you can definitely do it. But I'll definitely either Sasha or Lisa. Reese style might be maybe a little bit too aggressive on such a long track. I could be wrong, but I know myself, I had to like adapt my riding style and be a bit more like efficient and economical on the bike to make it the whole way.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but definitely, and Valentina, the Colombian rider, she's also
Roa Sanchez, yeah.
fast, and she's been there before, and she wants it so hard because she got third last year, so she could pull one off. You never know. Yeah. And these four I like a little bit better than the rest of them. Yeah. But I would say maybe Sasha or Lisa have a little bit of an edge.
Okay. And in junior men, Henry Kiefer took the win at the National with a 4:36. Again, a very fast time. Who's your money on, Jack? Or is it too hard?
Yeah, it's any of those top boys, isn't it? They've been shuffling around. And I don't follow that category as in enough detail to properly kind of bet on one. It would be nice to see one of the British guys on the podium, that's for sure. I think performance-wise, we're not looking at a British gold medal in that category, I don't think.
The Frenchies have been missing the big good run, but they have so many contenders. Ugo Marini, but Ugo Marini was on the podium of national champs, which shows how much depth they are. So there's also a few first years that are definitely really, really fast, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of the Frenchies just suddenly like comes out of nowhere. But Chris Hauser, obviously, for me, is a favorite also because of his size and how strong he is. And if he keeps it like 95, he can probably win it, because I think he's for sure raw speed the fastest out there. But maybe my Canadian boys, we'll see. Maybe make it. Ryan was second in Lenzerheide before he crashed into the tree. So he's also kind of like a big guy, So if he gets his knuckled, because he has a broken knuckle, if he gets his knuckle like in shape before, he could maybe be close to a podium. Who knows? There's a lot of contenders out there, so that's pretty cool to see.
Elite women, I've put 4 names down here: Rachel, Valley, Cami, and Nina. Can you see anyone outside those 4?
Well, Gracey just told us that she
Gracey Hemstreet.
told
us that after Seoul she felt like she'd have got second if she hadn't had that crash. So she's clearly feeling like it's clicked. So yeah, I mean, you gotta go with one of the
Tani, maybe. I mean, if Tani feels confident enough to go to Harline, which I was like mind blown off. I know how well she wants to do there. She can have the same mentality there. Hopefully, same problem as Rachel, maybe fitness to her standards, obviously.
Yeah.
Because she's always been a very fit rider, and Rachel was like out of this world fit back then when she was winning. I don't know. Maybe Tani can also be a contender.
Yeah. I mean, she said on the last episode, didn't she, that was the dream, the Fort William world champs. I'm guessing Miriam won't be back.
No, I've talked to her, and it's still kind of like status quo for now. I'm trying to get into exercise and stuff and try not rush it, because every time, sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't. But she definitely won't be back until she can like properly like perform, which it'll be hard until the end of the season. But we never know, because we have until October. But that's sad to see.
Yeah. Well, very best to Miriam. Does anybody want to do a prediction? Do you want to do a prediction, Jack?
The women's?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing Rachel like big as.
I don't want to jinx anyone. I don't want to anger anyone. I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah, let's.
No, but you can do a prediction because.
Yeah, but I don't have one. I genuinely don't have one. Like nobody is going to be surprised if Rachel comes out and does well. Nobody, because how long has she been racing Fort William? She will be training for the event. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, I got a kid and I'm still training loads. Like, so that ain't going to stop her. Nobody's going to be surprised if she comes out and does well. And nobody's going to be surprised if the other ones you've listed, Cam, Valley, Nina, nobody's going to be surprised if they do well either. So,
do you think Rachel retires if she wins it?
I think she should.
The thing is, they've got the bike, haven't they? So, like, if she can come out and perform well and get great results, it's great marketing for their bike brand.
Yeah.
So why would she not do? So even if she just dips in and out of races for the next X amount of years, it's just good marketing. So it just makes sense. Whereas if you ask me the question about whether G should come back, my answer would be no, because like looking at the men's at the moment, like I've been consistently now the second oldest to be in the semi-final. There's Minar older, and then there's me, Brayton, Blenky and Remy Tyrion, and that kind of rage rider are all there. And if G came back, he'd be older than us. And how long has he been out of touch with it now? Whereas for Rachel, it's a little different. Like, she's proved she can come back and just be in the mix. So why would she not?
So elite men, I've put some names down.
Yeah.
Loic Loris, Jordan Jackson, and then Laurie, who won the national with that 4:25. Thibaut, Charlie Hatton.
I genuinely think Jordan's going to win. Like, I genuinely think he's going to win. I know how much he wants it. I know he rides that track well. He had great pace at the national there until he punctured. That's where I'd put my money. Obviously, there's a large number of riders that can do it, but I think if he has a good one on the day, I think he's going to be the man to beat.
Okay.
Maybe Thibaut. I don't know. I feel like I've never seen Thibaut de Prada in any prediction I've ever did. But I don't know. Like I feel like you said, maybe Andorra, but I think maybe if Jordan doesn't do it, maybe Thibaut will, because I remember seeing them both, Amaury and him, riding last year, and I was like, what the hell? They're different, like they were on different speed.
Oh yeah, yeah, well paced, didn't he? Like,
so if he keeps it together, it could be close.
100%.
Yeah, it is that type of race where if he can hold it together for one run, he could win it. I'm going to curse Danny Hart.
No, poor Dan.
Poor Danny.
I've got a feeling Danny Hart.
And I will be stoked though if that happens.
I really would, to be fair. Like, and how ironic would it be? Like,
that's what I think.
Back in the peak of his career, he could just never quite wrap it up at Fort William. Imagine if he does it now.
Petey did it out in Canberra.
Different era though.
Different era, and also Danny.
He didn't even have knee pads on.
Danny not doing the national, first trip up there, fresh.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. So is Greg still a contender?
I was just about to say a minute ago. Imagine if Greg goes out and fucking wins it.
Never been won on a mullet. Fort William's still never been won on a mullet.
Really?
Yeah, because
the men's.
Amaury, the men's. Yeah. Amaury won on a full 29 last year.
Most of them do switch over to full 29, to be fair.
So before Worlds, we've got UK national champs. Are you racing, Jack?
I am, definitely, yeah. Going to be down there competing myself and obviously helping Owen try and chase that title in the junior category. So, yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. Looking forward to it. Hope we get some good weather.
Excellent. Well, I'll see you there. And that's it for another episode. Thanks to the wonderful sponsors of the show, Hope Technology, JTech Suspension, Revolution Bike Park, Ride Southern Spain, Schwalbe and SingleTrackWorld.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'm sure you know what to do by now. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you've got a sec, please drop us a review. Alternatively, please give us a follow on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing or Facebook.com/MakingUpTheNumbers. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon, hopefully before Worlds, possibly at Worlds, but it might be afterwards.
This has been the Mammoth production for Making Up the Numbers.